missiles flying. Apocalyptic visuals that looks like it's straight out of a video game.
نظامی میزنم اینجا محل پخش بنزین شمال شرق و شرق تهران.
Higher gas prices.
Now, we are seeing gas prices surge due to the escalating war in Iran. The national average for a gallon of gas, $3.45 according to Gas Buddy, soaring 48 cents from just a week ago and hitting the highest level since September 2024. Diesel jumped 22 cents in a day on Friday. That is the biggest single-day increase on record. And the reason why this is a big deal is because if it costs companies more money to transport goods, that cost gets passed on to the consumer.
And with a government that is simply just asking itself, what more can we do for Israel?
American heroes may be lost and we may have casualties. That often happens in war. But we're doing this not for now. We're doing this for the future. And it is a noble mission.
The Pentagon has identified 4 of the service members as Captain Cody Cork from Winter Haven, Florida, Sergeant Declan Cody of West Des Moines, Iowa, Sergeant First Class Nicole Amore of White Bear Lake, Minnesota, and Sergeant First Class Noah Tetchgens of Bellevue, Washington.
I still don't fully think it's real, and I didn't think it was real when they told us, because I just remember all of our conversations about what he was going to do when he came back, and so I'll just be sitting and thinking about it, and then it's really hard, and I can't help but think just he was my little brother, and he was probably really scared even if he didn't want people to know. And so I just wish he could have known one more time that we all loved him.
Israel is the reason for this war. America does not want to fight this war for Israel. Let's go. Come on, let's go. America does not want to send its sons and daughters to war for Israel. Your inability to name that shows your exemptness as leaders. Please stand up as a Marine and stand up for America. No one wants to fight for Israel.
He's a Marine. Somebody come help him.
Control your Senate committee.
Look at you guys. You're robots.
A U.S. Senator.
You won't even look back. Look at you guys. You're like robots.
How many more people can we sacrifice for the greater nation of Israel? How much more can we do for this nation? Because, I mean, they're the good guys. Israel are the good guys in all of this, guys. Netanyahu said so himself.
We're the good guys. These people massacred their own people. Imagine what they would do, these people who chant death to America, if they had the ballistic missiles and the nuclear warheads to deliver to every American city. Do you want to wait?
And that man never lies. He is always honest. He is always truthful. All hail Benjamin Netanyahu, which is definitely what the Christian Zionists in this country are probably saying at night before they go to bed. They're just praying to Benjamin Netanyahu to usher in that third temple.
What they ought to do is evacuate up there on the hill and get a great big missile and blow that wicked dome of the rock plumb off of the spot where it's standing right now so we can get that third temple rebuilt and usher in the coming of Jesus.
But it's been a little bit over a week since all of this stuff has kind of kicked off, and it's been very turbulent. I almost feel as if I have whiplash from all the different things that have been happening every single day, whether it's missile strikes, or whether it's the stupid shit I keep seeing my own government just put out every single day. I see more and more how this administration, especially Trump, not even just, you could say, the government as a whole, but him and his administration, and not only for his second term, but even for his first term, with all the different things that have happened, how much of a pro-Israel president he really is, how much he values Israel over the American people. And it started in his first term. It didn't just start now. And I know, like, a lot of people have been saying it, a lot of people have been pointing it out, but it's been a very crazy week. with everything that's happened. And there's a lot of talks about what's going to happen with Iran. Are they going to survive? Are they going to destroy Israel? What's going to come out of all of this? Who's going to win this? And the night that the strikes happened, I was on Focus Trip. I went on his stream, and I was on there with a bunch of other creators, and we were just like, as the strikes were happening, we were just going through footage, reacting to things, just talking about like, okay, it's happening. And it was pretty crazy. It was a very long stream. But at this point, after seeing everything that's happened so far, I'm pretty convinced that Iran's fate is essentially sealed. I'm not convinced that they're going to fall quickly. I mean, I don't know. It's still only been a week, but I'm seeing people talk about how Israel or the US might use nukes. And then I've seen people talk about how they're going to use like pressure to get other groups in Iran to fight and cause like all these civil conflicts. And then I've seen people talk about how it's going to be a long game and they're going to put a bunch of pressure on their resources and their water supply and like all this stuff. And that's how they're going to beat Iran. And I'm sure there are a lot of people that are convinced, or at least they would like to believe, that Iran can survive this and that they can come out on top. They can defeat America and they can defeat Israel. And, you know, I'll give you this much if you're on that side of the aisle, if you think that. I do think there is a possibility that Iran could get out of this for the time being. I think there's a possibility that they could fight off America and Israel. They can get them to kind of pull back. But ultimately, the path that I believe Iran is kind of going down on, the path that they are condemned to at this point, is going to lead to regime change, or at the very least, they will be crippled going forward. They're never going to be what they needed to be, which was the perfect deterrent to Israel. They're never going to be able to defeat Israel at this point. I think it's too late. They should have had a nuclear bomb. If they have one at this point, I mean, who knows? I doubt they do. It seems like they just have a big stockpile of missiles. And I understand that their capabilities with, you know, making drones, the way they kind of have their stuff set up, how it's in the mountains, all these different things. And I understand there's a very good chance they could survive for a very long time. But I just don't think they're ever going to be able to get to a point to where they can become strong enough to oppose Israel. They can kind of be that deterrent from Israel becoming the main force in the Middle East and kind of becoming their own superpower, controlling that whole region of the world, which in a lot of ways is kind of the center of the world with so many different things. I don't think Iran's going to be able to do that. I think they're just on the pathway to essentially just dying out. Whether it happens this year or 10 years from now, they're never going to be able to recover from this fully. None of their allies at this point seem like they are willing to get involved physically. They might give them resources, they might give them weapons, but Iran does not have the power structure to get through this. They just don't. And with everything you're seeing, are they going to be able to fight back? Are they going to be able to kill people? Are they going to be able to do damage? Yes, of course. And I've been seeing so many theories about all this as to what's going to happen. You know, there's people talking about how Israel wants them to bomb them so they can use this as an excuse to purposely destroy the Qibla Mosque on the Mount so they can rebuild the third temple. And I'm sure a lot of people have been hearing about the third temple, the rebuilding of it lately. Tucker Carlson did an episode on his show, which in my opinion was actually pretty good. If you guys haven't seen it, you can go check it out. And a lot of people have been talking about this past week. So many people. Like, I think more people have found out about this Temple on the Mount, the third temple rebuilding conspiracy theory, which, funny enough, it's something that so many people know now. Is obviously that's like one of the biggest groups in Israel is pushing to rebuild the temple. That's like something they've been working towards for fucking decades, something that's been going on for a very long time. And just the funny part about all of that is on the early days of the internet with like 4chan, all these different forum groups, this was considered to be just a crazy conspiracy, anti-Semitic conspiracy. If you talked about the rebuilding of the third temple, how they want to like use this to usher in their golden age, their ultimate domination of the world, and how either when they start rebuilding the temple, their Messiah will come and destroy all their enemies, or how after they rebuild the temple, the Messiah will come. There's a lot of like disagreements on what will happen among like different Jewish groups, but ultimately a lot of them, they still want to rebuild the temple. More people are hearing about this than ever before, but it's just funny. 10 years ago, if you talked about this online, you were crazy. Well, maybe not 10 years ago, maybe 15 years ago, you were a crazy anti-Semitic, Nazi, Hitler-loving apologist. Like, you were just the worst person in the world. And now it's like so blatantly obvious this is something that they've been working towards. And I kind of want to talk more about that than anything else. Because as far as what's going to happen with Iran, if they'll survive, you know, how much damage they'll be able to do, will they be able to rebuild their efforts? Will they be able to reunite all the different groups of Islam through jihad to finally destroy the great Satan, which is Israel and America and all these things? Will they be able to do all of that? I mean, I'm sure there are a lot of people that's their main focus, and I don't think that's going to happen at all. I think, if anything, some people are talking about how this is kind of bolstering efforts and take Muslims and Christians and make them fight even more than they already do. That is definitely something that will happen. You're going to see a lot more division between Christians and Muslims going forward. But funny enough, Iran has like a big Christian population. So the fact that, you know, Israel's so like gung-ho on striking them and blowing up kids and doing all this stuff, it makes a lot of sense, you know, when you think about how much they really hate Christians. It's just more interesting to me when I think about the Christian Zionists in America. And so I kind of want to just talk about that a little bit more. Talk about the third temple. Talk about like the rebuilding. What does this mean? Why do the Jews want the third temple rebuilt? And why do Christian Zionists in America want the third temple rebuilt? Because you have to understand something. A lot of people, they talk about AIPAC. They talk about Jews in America. They talk about Israel, the Israel lobby, and they're like, yeah, they control America. They control the politicians. They control us. You know, we got to get rid of them. If we got rid of them, everything would be peachy and we would all be fine. But nobody talks about the Christian Zionists. Like, I've never seen really anybody talk about CUFI, Christians United for Israel, and how arguably CUFI is just as fucking impactful on our nation's political structure as AIPAC is. You know, Christians United for Israel is one of the biggest pro-Israel, Zionist, pro-Jewish organizations in the world, not just in America, in the world. And you look at like the pastor who started it, Pastor John Hagee, the church he comes from, like all these different people who are actually religious advisors to President Trump. And they've been religious advisors to him since the first term. They're the ones visiting him, telling him, hey, you need to support Israel more. You need to recognize Jerusalem as Israel's capital, and you need to move the embassy there. And back in like 2017, like the people that really have been in his ear, it's all of these religious leaders. It's these groups. It's this organization, not just AIPAC, it is CUFI. And the reason why this is so alarming, and it needs to be more alarming for you guys, is the fact that the people who are in this organization are not Jewish. They're American. That's the whole point of the organization. They might have some Jews here and there, obviously, but the majority, the people who donate, which is crazy. You can have Zionist Christians that live in other countries, not even living in America, and they can donate to CUFI, which then that money gets used to influence the politicians in America. And not even just in America, but kind of like all over the world. But it's just crazy to me how, like, when I talk to people or I see people talk about Israel and their control over a country, they'll talk about AIPAC all day fucking long. They'll talk about how they, you know, influence everybody, but they never talk about CUFI. They never talk about these organizations. And it's funny because they do the exact same shit. And so going forward, I don't want to see any of you people talk about AIPAC without talking about CUFI. I don't want to fucking see anybody bring up AIPAC tracker, or how this person got this donation from AIPAC or the Israel lobby. I don't want to see any of you fuckers talk about that shit without talking about CUFI. If you're not bringing up CUFI, if you're not bringing up these religious leaders just as much as you're bringing up AIPAC, you're missing the entire fucking game, bro. You are missing half of the battle, essentially. because these are Americans who, if we didn't have politicians completely bending over backwards and bouncing on it for Israel, these Americans would be furious. They would be fucking writing letters. They would be protesting. They would be completely up in arms. Why don't we have any pro-Zionist politicians in our government? Why is nobody for Israel? Why does nobody, protect the Jews? Why does nobody ever do that? And they're American and they're so gung-ho on it. And why is that? Because they're dispensationalists. They are Judeo-Christians. This is what they believe. They believe that Jews are special. They believe that you have to support Israel. They see the current political state of Israel as the original people of Israel, which we're not going to go through the entire history of that. I'm sure a lot of you are well aware it's not the same fucking thing, but that's what they believe. And for them, their belief is everything. For them, it matters more to them that Israel succeeds than if their own family has a future in America. That's pretty fucking insane. And so I think it needs to be said, we need to talk about these groups a lot more. And why does this matter when talking about Iran, when talking about this war? Because according to a lot of these people, this is a holy war. According to Lindsey Graham, according to several groups in Israel, this isn't just about nukes or bombs. This isn't about protecting American sovereignty or bringing liberty to the Middle East. This is about Israel. This is about the greater nation of Israel. This is about putting Israel in a position to where they can rebuild their third temple and usher in their Messiah. Which, by the way, for those of you who don't understand this, I grew up in a Judeo-Christian church. I was raised as a dispensationalist. I'm very familiar with these people, with how they think, with how they preach, with how these people act. My own mother, and I'm going to say this, my own mom, for a very long time, was actually a part of CUFI. And she doesn't do it anymore. And we still have a lot of disagreements on this, but she would go. She didn't work for the organization. She would volunteer. And they get people from all states, even all over the world, and they'll have like summits in Washington, D.C. My mom would go to those. And she wouldn't speak at the main conferences, but she would talk with like politicians and leaders. So I'm very much aware of like what the fuck goes on with these groups and why this is being pushed. Because I was raised in that form of the church, I rejected it and I became an atheist for a while. And I've already talked about that whole story more and more. But I am a Christian again. I'm a real Christian now. And when you talk about dispensationalism, when you talk about how stuff like the Skullfield Bible, how all these things were engineered to kind of brainwash Americans, Christians, into supporting the Jewish community in a way that they had never done before, into supporting some type of Jewish state, which before it was even a state to begin with, they didn't even know it was going to be called Israel. They just chose that. And I mean, good on them, because it worked. It made a lot of people think that that's the same Israel from the Bible, but it's not. It's completely different. But why do they believe that they need to support the rebuilding of the third temple? Why do they believe they have to support Jews more than their own fellow countrymen? Why is it that, in their opinion, it is better for America's sons and daughters to go off and to die for Israel? Why is it good to them? Why do they want that? Because they believe after the rebuilding of the third temple, it will usher in the coming of the Antichrist. And when the Antichrist is here, there's going to be a tribulation. There's going to be a great war. The world is going to be transformed into a biblical, apocalyptic hellscape of just misery, death, blood, agony. There is no more states. There is no more countries. There's no more race. There's no nothing. It is simply just like the devil's playground, essentially. It's like fucked. Everything is fucked. And they believe that right before the tribulation happens, right before everything starts to kick off, Jesus will return. And the Christians, the real Christians, will be raptured and they will be saved. They will be taken and spared from the tribulation, which makes no sense whatsoever when you actually read the Bible. Because the whole point of the tribulation, it is Christians being hunted down and killed. It is people being given the option, accept the mark of the beast, or you will be executed, or tortured, or whatever. It's this whole thing. And so they believe that if they help the Jews and they help them destroy all these other countries in the Middle East, and they rebuild the third temple, it will force God's hand, and it will speed up the return of Christ, and then all these people can just be raptured and they will be spared from everything. And growing up in a church that teaches this, I can tell you that knowing what I know now, a lot of people who support this stuff, a lot of Christian Zionists, a lot of Judeo-Christians, one of the main reasons they're for all of this is simply because they're afraid of dying. Even growing up, I remember my own mom talking about how she would say stuff like, I'm not going to die, I'm going to be raptured, when talking about the future or whatever. And I would meet so many people like this. Like, they just have this idea that they're not going to actually physically die. They're going to be raptured and they're going to be spared, which is just crazy when you think about it, because everybody is supposed to die. Like, even if you were to get raptured, they have this idea that it's going to be like in those movies where people just get, like, their clothes get left behind and they just get whisked into the clouds. It's like that movie with Nick Cage, dude, when he's like, you know, he's cheating on his wife, and because he's cheating on his wife, he's a sinner. And so he gets left behind, and his wife and his family, they get taken up. They get to go to heaven, and he has to live through the tribulation with the Antichrist. It's like those movies. I don't know if you guys have seen those, but I've definitely seen them because I grew up watching them. And it's crazy because a lot of the concepts and ideas that Judeo-Christians have when it comes to the rapture, it's not even from the parts of the Bible that they take out of context. It's literally from movies. It's from books that other Judeo-Christians write. It's from fiction. I'm not even joking. Dude, A Thief in the Night was like a movie from the 70s. I think that was like one of the first Christian movies that came out that was about the rapture and was about the mark of the beast and all this stuff. And that's kind of like the thing. It's all like from movies, dude. And so they have this idea that the tribulation is going to be horrible. The Antichrist is going to be horrible. It's all going to be bad. They want to escape it. They like the idea that there's a way out for them. And they're afraid of dying. Like I said, it's like I've met several of them, and when talking to them, you kind of just realize it. It's like they're afraid to die. And so the idea to them that they can be raptured and spared from death and spared from the end times, in a weird way, it's almost like a coping mechanism. It's kind of sad, but something you have to understand is a lot of these types of people, and it's not all like, you know, because they're afraid of dying. I'm sure there's a lot of them that don't really care about that. But ultimately, the point still stands. Why does this country, you want to talk about, well, why does America support Israel so much? And everybody talks about, oh, well, because Israel blackmails our politicians, or because Israel pays off our politicians. It's not just that, dude. It's because there is a huge group of people in this nation that believe completely that we have to support Israel, that we have to destroy Israel's enemies. If we do not, we are turning our back on God. You know, you saw Ted Cruz say it, blessed are those who bless Israel, cursed are those who curse Israel. He's like, I just remember that from Sunday school. I'm just doing what the Bible says. And that's what a lot of these people think. They're thinking, well, we have to do this, which is crazy because ever since America started supporting Israel, and you would think from that logic, because they believe blessed are those who bless you. And so they think if we support Israel and we do all these things for them, as a nation, we will be blessed. But yet, ever since we started supporting Israel, this country, America, has been getting worse. We've been having more problems. You ask a Judeo-Christian that, and they say, oh, well, it's because we do abortion, or we do this, or well, it's not because of that. It's actually because of these other things. It's actually because we turned our back on God. So we turned our back on God, but we didn't turn our back on Israel. Or funny enough, we did both of those things at the same time, interchangeably. It's almost as if you can't support Israel without turning your back on God. Is that what that says about us? Is that what that says about everyone who supports Israel? Funny enough, it's kind of crazy. You can't support the people who hate your God and don't even really believe in God without turning your back on your own God. But supposedly, if we did that, it's going to make our lives better, even though it hasn't. And so there's a lot of questions, and you never get true answers. You'll always get somebody who's a little quick. You know, they're smarter than other ones, and so they'll come up with some type of rhetoric or some type of logic to essentially work their way around those questions. But ultimately, when you get to the very bottom of it, why do we support Israel? What makes the current state of Israel the same as the one from the Bible? Why is building the third temple and in a way kind of forcing God's hand to usher in the return of Christ to rapture us, even if that was the case, which, by the way, it's not happening. The pre-tribulation rapture is not going to happen. What we're in for is the tribulation. So in other words, you're not issuing in the rapture, you're just issuing in the Antichrist by supporting these groups. But even if you did believe in the pre-rapture tribulation, if you believed in all that, how fucked up is it to think that you can force God, you can force his hand by supporting this nation, supporting the rebuilding of the temple, so you can get the rapture quicker, so you don't have to die, you just get whisked up into the clouds. It's kind of fucking insane that there are Christians that actually think they can do that. Which, funny enough, it's almost identical to the Jewish people that constantly find loopholes in their own religion to kind of one up on their own God. You can't turn the electricity on Saturdays, but here's top 10 tricks and tips on how you can use your ice machine. Or here's the top 10 tricks on how you can turn on the light switch. They have like all these tricks, all these ways to kind of get around God, break the rules, or at least bend the rules a little in their faith. And it's funny that the Christians that support them are kind of like the ones that do the same thing. They think, oh, we can force God's hand, which is fucking insane. Like, think about that as a concept and just try to explain how forcing God's hand, I know they're not going to think of it as that. They're going to think of it as whatever, but that's essentially what this is. Forcing God's hand. You think that's going to turn out right? You think that's good? But I digress. This is a big problem. The Christian Zionists that exist in this nation, they're one of the main reasons we have the politicians that we do. It's not all from blackmail. It's not all from being funded by Jewish lobbies. It is actually because there is a huge number of Americans that are American. They are not Jewish. They are not foreigners. They're actual Americans, and they support this. They believe at their very core that they need to support this. They believe at their very core that it is better for their own kid to go and die and sacrifice themselves for a different nation. The idea of the apocalypse, the idea of the Antichrist, all these different things. And there's so much like debate on what that means. A lot of people say, well, the Antichrist isn't just one person, it's multiple people, or it's an organization, or it's a country, or it's whatever. Like, I've heard all the theories. And to anybody who isn't a Christian, to anybody who doesn't believe in any of this, I know a lot of atheists watch me. I know there are people from different, religions that watch me. And you could just be new here, you could just be somebody who clicked on this video. But to the people who are not Christian, to the people who don't believe in what I believe, not like what they believe, I'm not a dispensationalist, but the people who don't believe in the Bible, just understand that these Christians that are supporting all of this, these Christians that are pushing for all of this, a part of their belief includes them being raptured while you and your family get left behind. And that also means that you and your family get damned to hell on earth. That also means that you and your family have to suffer the Antichrist. They have to suffer being tortured, essentially being raped, murdered, all of these fucked up things. Like, that is what they are pushing for. When they believe in supporting these things, they think that's going to happen to you. Just so you know. So next time you see a Judeo-Christian and you're not one of them, next time you see a Zionist Christian and you're not one of them, you don't believe in whatever, just understand when they look at you, based on what they believe, they think you and your family are going to be damned to being raped and murdered in the most fucked up ways imaginable. And some of them even think it's funny. A lot of them, they're like, oh yeah, I just can't wait to be raptured and be away from all these people. Like, dude, it's insane. So if knowing what you know now, I need you to have this mindset going forward. Because I'm going to ask you a question. How in a million years can you meet somebody knowing that that's what they believe is going to happen to you, that that's what they're content with, and that person be your ally, that person be your friend? It's literally impossible. It is impossible as fuck. In my last video, I talked about how Christians need to come together. It does not include those people. Those people are the enemy. These sneaky, conniving, bitch-made Judeo-Christians that celebrate when kids get bombed in other countries, that celebrate when we go to war and we send our own sons and daughters off to fucking die for another nation. These Christians, they are your enemy. So going forward, I don't want to see any of you fuckers talk about AIPAC or talk about Jewish lobby influence or whatever. I understand the history. I get it. If somebody's going to leave a comment saying, well, but do you know why they believe what they believe? It's because they've been engineered. It's because of the Rothschilds and the Skullfield Bible, and it's because of dispensational. I know all of it. I grew up in it. I'm sure somebody's still going to leave a comment, and you know what? Good for you. Leave it. You guys should read it. Fine. It does not matter that these people are engineered. It does not matter that these people are brainwashed. It still does not change the fact that they are brainwashed. And because they are brainwashed, they are literally advocating for things that are not only destroying this nation, but in their own beliefs will literally lead to the end of the world. It is a doomsday cult. That is what this is. There is nothing good about Zionist Christians. There is nothing righteous about Zionist Christians. There is nothing godly about what they believe. What they believe is evil. There is no way that supporting millions of Christians in Iran being bombed, innocent kids being murdered, is a good thing. There is no world where God looks at that and thinks, that's what I want my supporters in America to be all for. No. These people, I get it. They're engineered. They're influenced. I understand there's a huge level of interconnectivity between the different religious leaders and the churches and the organizations and the politicians, and there is money play that is involved, but also at the same time, there are zealots to where they don't care about money, and it is more than that, because it is a doomsday cult to a very large degree, and it's in your nation, and it's not just in our nation, it's in almost every Western nation, and it influenced your politicians just as much as AIPAC and all these different groups. And you have to understand this. It doesn't matter that they're brainwashed. That's still what they believe. That is still what they are pushing for. A lot of people have this idea, oh, well, if we can expose people being brainwashed, it will save them and it will make them come to the light, because sometimes that does happen, but it's very rare. Most people are stubborn. Most people, when they spend their entire lives believing something, especially as extreme as this, people do not like to be wrong. They double down. So I'm not telling you to not expose these things. I'm not telling you to not talk about it. In fact, I'm encouraging you to speak up more, because we need to put a spotlight on these groups. Because whether you believe in the Bible or not, whether the Bible is true or not, these people have played a large role in this country supporting Israel as much as it does. It's not all from blackmail. It's not all from money. There is a religious extremism, and it is from Christians, and it comes from Christian Zionists. It comes from the Judeo-Christians that preach a false doctrine. They are the wolves in sheep's clothing. They are the false prophets that the Bible warned us about. But whether you believe in it or not, whether it's true or not, whether Israel gets their great Messiah, or the Antichrist comes, or the rapture happens, or whatever, forget religion, forget all of that. Let's just say none of it happens. Because of them, because what is going on in Iran, because eventually Israel will start the rebuilding of the third temple, because of the Greater Israel Project, they will gain immense power in that region of the world. And they will then become a nuclear superpower. And they will have resources, and they will have a growing population. Israel is like one of the few countries that actually has a growing population. And it's because they believe in a purpose. They have this purpose. But forget all the religious parts of it. This leads to Israel having an insane amount of control in the world. This leads to the downfall of America. You think Israel is going to be buddy-buddy with us when they get what they want? You think they're going to be our friend like they are now? Which, by the way, pretty great friend. Who needs enemies when you have a best friend like that, right? But if you think they're going to keep being the way they are, once they have control of the Middle East, once they have as much power as they want, you think they're going to still play nice with us in America? You think they're going to keep leeching off of us? No. You know what's going to happen? They're going to cause complete calamity and infighting in our own nation to the point to where we collapse from the inside and we completely destroy ourselves, and then America will be destroyed. That is, at the end of the day, what this is leading towards. So whether the religious side is real and the Antichrist comes, which according to Jews is their Messiah, is their great military leader, which by the way, he's coming here to destroy Amalek, or like their great enemy, which is white Christians. So they're going to hunt down Christians and kill Christians all over the world. Whether the religious side of this is going to happen or it isn't, that's still a part of the game plan. There are a lot of Jewish people who are not religious at all. They're atheists, but they still follow the laws. They still follow the rules. They're still working towards the same goals. It matters not. So going forward with everything that's happening in the world, everything that's happening with China, Russia, Ukraine, Taiwan, the Middle East, Israel, America, Central America, everything that's going on, the world is gearing up for some type of great military conflict. There's something going on that's going to spark off. But I think everybody knows eventually that's where things are headed, and we have to start calling out our real enemies. And it's not just AIPAC, it's not just the Jewish lobby, it's also Americans. It is CUFI. It is these religious extremists. These people are just as dangerous as everyone else. So I want to see from all of you, and any creator that's watching this, anybody who makes videos similar to me or who talks about politics in any way that I do, I want to see you guys talk more about CUFI. I want to see us all talk more about Christian Zionists in this country, because the doomsday clock is getting close to midnight. This is getting serious. This is getting actually really fucking disturbing. There's going to be a lot of things going forward. A lot of people are talking about how there's going to be false flag attacks. A lot of people are talking about how there's going to be civil conflicts. I'm sure it's going to be a little bit of everything, because just like always, it's the end of the world. The world is ending. It's always been ending. It's been ending before you were even born. Before I was born, before your grandparents were born. That's just the way this all goes. But that's pretty much it. That's what I wanted to talk about today. I had a whole week to kind of just look at what was going on with the war. And every day it's the same, like more or less it's the same shit. It's just like a different video or something Trump says or whatever. And I'm like, damn, bro, like what's really going on right now is not going to stop. And in a lot of ways, I hope Iran wins. I hope they do survive, because they were kind of like the only ones keeping Israel from moving forward with a lot of this stuff. But honestly, I don't think they can. I think those days are coming to a close. I think, who knows what's next. A lot of people are saying boots on the ground. That's going to be the next step. And I mean, that could very well happen, but now I'm seeing people talk about nukes. And I mean, people always talk about nukes, but who knows where this is going to go. But you know what we need to talk about more of is definitely the Christian Zionists. So good for Tucker for making this video, kind of going into the third templists and all this different thing, putting a spotlight on this. While the spotlight is there, let's keep it there. So that's why I wanted to talk about it today. And going forward, when you guys go and when you talk about this and when you bring it up, I want you to put an emphasis on these groups. We need to expose this a little bit more because it's insane. But that's pretty much it. That's everything I'm going to say with all of that. But guys, thank you so much for the support and the love the channel has been getting. My last video, I talked about some stuff that was personally going on in my life, and it's still pretty crazy, but the amount of support you guys have given me, all of the condolences and the people that have been praying for me and everything, it means so much, and I feel really blessed to have you guys all here and to talk about these things and to have these conversations with you all. It means so much to me, and I'm grateful for it, and I just wish I could do more right now. And like I said, I'm going to get back into the groove of things. I've still been kind of out of it, but I just want to thank each and every one of you for all the love and all the support. That all being said, guys, like always, if you enjoyed this video, like, comment, subscribe. If you disagree, leave your thoughts below and let me know why you disagree. And if I missed anything, obviously, I'm sure I did. let me know below what I missed and enlighten whoever's in the comments reading all of this, because I'm sure there's a lot of people that are going to be pretty lost on a lot of this stuff. So thank you all so much for that. But also share the video, of course, with a friend. And check me out on Rumble. Be sure to follow me on Rumble, because at any point in time, we could get canceled on YouTube. We can get removed from YouTube. I don't think it will happen, but also at the same time, I don't know. With the way the world is going at this point, who knows what the fuck is going to go on. So please, if you want to support the channel, if you want to, really support me, go make a Rumble account. Follow me over on Rumble. I know a lot of you guys already just watch me on there. Shout out to all the people that just watch me on Rumble. You guys are amazing. And be sure to follow me on X. I'm very active on that platform. Always posting stuff on there when I can. And in the meantime, guys, thank you all so much. As always, Jesus Christ is King of Kings, Lord of Lords, America first only. I hope you all enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll see you all later.